Here we are, boys. It's the finale. Here we are at Avengers Endgame, my review of that movie, and also the finale of the Infinity Saga. After 53 projects, we finally made it. It has been a long undertaking, over a year's worth of content in that sense. However, that does not matter to me because I am hyped that I'm here. I'm actually way more excited that I am here because of the fact of how fast I got here. But that is because of the fact that I've been using Audacity stuff. Because of the fact that Audacity apparently has a silence remover. So that allowed me to get here faster. So, this movie, this big behemoth, 3 hours worth of content. My goodness. And also, we have no spoilers. No spoilers in the trailers. I don't know how they did that, but I do. Because they basically have an animated movie worth of time before they even do the main plot of the movie. But still, there were no spoilers in the trailers at all. That's what I mean. So throughout the trailers coming out, all the trailers, we didn't really have spoilers outside of one scene that could indicate what they're doing based on their white suits. But outside of that, like, they didn't really spoil anything, and I'm so happy about it. Because basically, what the movie thinks it's going to be, at least from the trailers, is the fact that the Avengers will fight back against Thanos and reverse everything. Part of that is not untrue, but there's a big plot line in the second half of the movie that is just entirely omitted, and I love the fact that they omitted that, and I am going to go the same direction. I'm not gonna say what the plot is of this movie, even though I've already talked about it at length. I feel like throughout other spoiler talks and reviews maybe as well, I've referenced what happens in Endgame, but my goodness, I will say that they did a really good job in Endgame. But basically, that is the plot of the movie. We have to bring back half of all life because they were lost. We lost, boys. The Avengers lost the battle. Half of all life was gone, so we have to reverse that, and we have to defeat Thanos. That is the plot of the movie, and that's all you'll get from me. So then let's get into the cast then, shall we? And thankfully, because of the fact that Thanos kind of wiped out half of all life, most of the Avengers were part of half of all life. So the characters are greatly reduced, so we don't have 500 characters that are main characters in the movie. So I'm just gonna talk about the characters from the beginning of the movie. Starting off, obviously, we have Robert Downey Jr. back as Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man. Fantastic casting, fantastic actor, and I love his reaction to Captain America when he sees him at the beginning of this movie, and the fact that it's just like, look man, I lost the kid. I lost him. Spider-Man's dead. And also the fact that you said we would lose together, but you weren't there. Those kind of moments, you know, they were great. He is so good, but also what he does in this movie is so important. It is just fantastic the way that he does it. But like I said, talking too much about it might even induce spoilers, so we're not gonna be going down that route. Instead, next up we have Chris Evans back as Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. And sadly enough, half of all life was not all that got snapped away, because apparently when Captain America is in mourning, he decides to shave that glorious beard off. I miss it. I miss the beard. He did shave it off, sadly enough, but he also kind of had to because of the continuity of the movie, you know. What happens in the movie, we kind of had to do that. Now, there's a little thing about this guy at the end of the movie that's caused some debate. I'm just gonna say alternate timeline and leave it at that, but it has caused a lot of debate, but still, he was fantastic in the movie. Then after that, we have Mark Ruffalo back as Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, and yeah, I don't like him in this movie. Like, they treat the Hulk in this movie like a joke, and I am so annoyed at that. And I also forgot to talk about it in the spoiler talk, because I already recorded that bad boy, but like, they treat him like a joke, and I hate it. But anyway, in this movie, he has found a way to merge the Hulk body together with the Banner mind, so in a way, best of both worlds. The problem is, we didn't get to see that stuff, so it kind of just comes out of nowhere, and it's just, I hate it. I hate it. I hate what they did with the Hulk in this movie, and after this, they didn't really treat the Hulk with respect anyway. But that doesn't mean that Mark Ruffalo is bad in the role. It's just, you know, I would have liked Edward Norton. Then next up, we have Chris Hemsworth back as Thor, and my goodness, this guy has taken the loss of half of all life the hardest of us all, because of the fact that he was right there, and he should have aimed for the head. And that line, just, it still plays in his mind in this movie. He blames himself, and he goes down a dark path. And to be honest, I don't actually like it. And apparently he gave away for a wave of cosplayers. But like I said, I don't hate the fact of what they do with Thor in this movie, because it is just for one movie. And if they were gonna continue this on after this movie, I would have disliked it. But what they do in this movie, I like where they take Thor in this movie. Then next up, we have Scarlett Johansson back as Natasha Romanoff, also known as Black Widow. And yeah, she's great. She's also taken the loss of half of all life very hard. Everyone has. But she's also taken it upon herself in order to basically, while they are gone, take up the initiative of the Avengers itself. You know, keep in contact with people while half of all life is all gone, in order to be able to just like unite the forces on Earth, but also in space. And I like that she goes that route as well. Then we have Jeremy Renner back as Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye. We missed him in the last movie because apparently it was on house arrest or whatever. However, the thing is that what they do with him in this movie is really good. I really like how they break him down, because of the fact of how the movie begins. They break him down, like they turn him basically into the Punisher. In a way, they turn him into Frank Castle, and I love what they do with that, and the fact that he has to come back from that. I love that stuff. Jeremy Renner, fantastic in the role. Then we have Don Cheadle back as James Rhodes, also known as Rhodey, or War Machine. And to be honest, he was a little bit lesser. He's just the same character that he's always been, you know. So for me, Don Cheadle is good in the role, but he's not really a standout character, you know. That is the problem with him. It's just like, yeah, Rhodey is here as well. That is what we have. Then after that, we have Paul Rudd back as Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, and he is the main point of the movie, because as you saw at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he was stuck in the quantum realm. Well, he's free, baby, and that has a big point in the movie as well. And I love the way that Paul Rudd acts as this character, you know. Just great overall. However, once he comes back from the quantum realm, it's just the reactions that he does, it shows that Paul Rudd can also be a bit serious if he needs to be, or just like emotional. He is not just a comedy character, which I have seen some people talk about that. Then after that, we have Karen Gillan back as Nebula, the only other survivor from Titan outside of Tony, and she has an important role to play, but the important role is in a negative way. But that's all I'll say about her character. But I liked her in the movie as well, especially once the real plot kicks in. People who know, they know what I'm talking about, but I love the way that she acted in this movie. And then next up, we have Bradley Cooper back as the voice of Rocket Raccoon. And basically, Nebula and Rocket, they're the only surviving members of the team, of the Guardians team, baby. Also, I love the fact that he gets his comic book costume in this movie, which he then keeps in the next movie. Big fan. But yeah, anyway, big fan of Rocket in this movie as well. But sadly enough, just like Rhodey, he's kind of just the same. Like, he doesn't really go through anything outside of just what the rest goes through. But the Rhodey goes through that as well. And then finally, the last one that we can talk about of the heroes, obviously, we have Brie Larson back as Carol Danvers, also known as Captain Marvel. And for me, well, I don't really care. But for a lot of people, they hate her character. Like, they hate her character. No matter how you look at it, which way on the internet you go. I don't like her character either, but, oh man, I forgot to talk about that. So I'll talk about it here. Okay, so there was a cut of this movie that was made. I forgot to talk about it in spoiler talk. I said I was gonna talk about it in spoiler talk. Sorry, I'm gonna talk about it here. But anyway, when this movie got released, people made a cut of the movie that was like without Captain Marvel. And really? Come on, people. Like, I don't like her either, but like, really? You're gonna go that direction? Come on. There are things I want to say, but I cannot say that because they are not child-friendly, okay? And we cannot curse, only mommy can curse. Otherwise, the child is not gonna love us 3000. That's all references to the movie, by the way. But, like, I don't like her character, but that's, like, for me, her character in this movie is, like, whatever. In the same vein as, like, Rhodey and Rocket in that sense. She's just there. However, she is kind of forced into the movie, it feels like. It feels like she wasn't planned to be in this movie. And that is kind of a big problem that I personally have, where it's like, she's kind of just in this movie, and everything she kind of does, other people could have done as well, except for what she does at the beginning of the movie. I will say that is something that where she was needed, because at the end of Captain Marvel's post-credit scene, she came to Earth, she was like, what happened? And basically, I guess we explained what happened, and then she does something that we actually needed her for. But the rest of the movie, it's kind of like, I mean, she's there, but I just don't like her character because of her own movie. That is it. The reason her character is ruined is because of her own movie. However, I will say this, Brie Larson does a good job with the material that she's given, okay? She does a good job. She's a good actress. Let's not go around that, okay? Let's not call Brie Larson a terrible actress because she has terrible opinions and she was in a terrible movie called Captain Marvel. You know, her acting, she's still a good actress, okay? I will say that. She's still a good actress. actress. It's just, I will say, out of the whole cast, she's my least favorite. And then finally, obviously, we have Josh Brolin back as Thanos, baby. However, I will say this, like, the actor does a fantastic job, but the way that Thanos is written in this movie is lesser than how he was written in the last movie, okay? I will just say that. However, he still does a good job, and my goodness, is he a threat. Like, no matter how you look at it, Thanos, even without the Infinity Stones, even though we saw that already in Infinity War when he just took care of the Hulk like he's nothing, this man is a beast. And that's it. So do I have some problems with the movie? Not really. Personally, I don't necessarily have any problems. I mean, I know everybody wants to say, oh yeah, but Captain Marvel's in the movie. No, okay? She was already promised to us, and one, like, bad movie doesn't really ruin my opinion on this movie. Like, I don't really care whether she's in or outside of this movie. But, like, for me, it's like nitpicks that I have in the movie that some of them I probably talk about as spoiler talk, but there are nitpicks that I have with this movie. I am not, like, the movie isn't perfect, but it is really good. Like, it really is good. It is such a good send-off to the Infinity Saga. And I know people will say, what about Spider-Man Far From Home? That idiot takes place, like, in the middle of, like, the multiverse saga. Well, actually, it's in the middle of, like, a year after Avengers Endgame. So, yeah, a lot of multiverse saga stuff has already happened before we get to that movie. So for me, it's just like, I'm not gonna count that with the Infinity Saga. I count that movie with the multiverse saga, just like how I count the Black Widow movie with the Infinity Saga instead of the multiverse saga. Just saying, that's how I see it, because I see it timeline wise, not necessarily release wise. But like, this ending the Infinity Saga is just like, it is such a good movie, and I would recommend anyone to watch this thing. But however, you do have to watch Infinity War before you watch this movie. Can you watch the two of them without the other movies? Yes. Will it be lesser? Yes. Did you expect to know? But overall, I will say that this movie is really good. So let's get into that final verdict then, baby, shall we? So my final verdict for Avengers Endgame is obviously going to be a 10 out of 10. It is a 10 out of 10. However, I will say I liked Infinity War more than Endgame. But it's just a blast to watch this movie, okay? It is a lot to take in. It's 3 hours, but it is really, really good. And also, I am actually excited for the next 2 Avengers movies. Even though I've seen some people online say that, oh, but those movies aren't earned because they didn't build up to them. It's like, yeah, well, to be honest, the actor turned out to be, you know, a horrible person. So it wasn't really such a good idea, you know, to really just hang it on him. Like Kang, okay, that was the bad guy that the Avengers were gonna face in the next Avengers movie. But then they did that one scene where they turned every Kang into the actor. I forgot the actor's name, but they turned everyone into him. And it's like, if you did not do that, you could have just had another actor portray Kang and be like, that Kang is from a different universe in that sense, you know? You could have done something like that. You could have done a recast and explained it as well. But I am still excited about the next Avengers movie, even though people are saying that we did not, like, we haven't earned the next 2 Avengers movies. Well, technically, the next Avengers movie was Thunderbolts, if you see that movie. But outside of that, I'm a big fan of this movie. I'll just say that, and I'm excited for what's to come with the next Avengers movies, because it seems like Marvel has finally understood that they need to actually put their weight into the movies and also the shows, instead of just writing whatever because they're on the top of the world thanks to Endgame. This is also the 2nd highest grossing movie of all time. It was the highest grossing movie of all time. However, then they re-released Avatar, and that kind of ruined everything. And then they re-released this thing, but it couldn't break it anymore, with some unfinished footage, which I find funny that they actually did that with some unfinished footage. But overall, that is it for me. So let me know what you guys thought about Endgame in the comment section down below. With that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, turn on notifications, don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I will see you guys next time, because now that we are done with the Infinity Saga, what is next? Well, multiverse stuff. However, not the multiverse stuff that you may be thinking, because next up is the multiverse stuff, as in the past movies that were canonized thanks to Spider-Man No Way Home and also Deadpool and Wolverine. All of the past movies that were canonized through that, we will be looking at. But before we really get into that one, we need to get some more explanation, and we fully need to basically have the multiverse an existing thing. So we're gonna go with Loki. Loki season 1 is actually what is going to be next, and you're gonna hate me for that one. Bye!